OpenAI has recently introduced work mode in ChatGPT. Instead of only answering questions or drafting ideas, work is designed to take on complete jobs. By the end of this video, you will understand how work differs from regular ChatGPT. You will also know how to use all of its main features, projects, plugins, sites, skills, and scheduled tasks. We'll use Agentic Studio, a fictional mindfulness business. You'll see how 30 raw survey responses become a workshop offer, a defined audience, a price, a marketing plan, a launch page, and a weekly process that responds as new feedback arrives. So let's start with the spreadsheet. Here, this spreadsheet holds the responses from the potential participant for this workshop. There's the response ID. We have a total of 30 responses, and then here's their different roles, their current practice. Some of them have not practiced, and some of them are already doing one type or another. And these are their hardest moments, moving from one urgent task to another. And for example, desired outcomes, start the day more deliberately. And their main concern, for example, finding time to practice, or I cannot sit still for long. And we also have their preferred time, which some of them prefer weekday, different time slots, and some of them prefer weekend. And we will use these data to design our actual workshop. This is the normal interface you see. This is the chat interface, but we also have a work interface for ChatGPT Work. Now, this is the web version. ChatGPT, you can access it from the web, but you can also access it from the actual local app. So what are the differences? On the web version, if you provide the additional information you want to connect, you can connect cloud resources. But if you work on the desktop app, you can connect directly to your local folder. So in this particular project, I'm going to actually use the desktop app, which is this one. I have already created this folder called Agentic Studio. Right now it's empty because we want to show that using ChatGPT Work, it will help us create all the documents necessary for our workshop launch. Now, this is the home inside our computer, right? We want to give it a home in ChatGPT as well. And the way you do it is you create a project. The way you create a project in ChatGPT is you come to here, project, and plus sign. Then we can give it a name called Agentic Studio. And then you want to add the folder that you created on the computer so that they are mapped each other. Open. Okay, so now this project has this folder, and it can access files and it can create files under this folder. Let's click Create Project. Now let's tell it what we want to do. So I will say, we are Agentic Studio. We have collected 30 survey responses about a possible beginner-friendly mindful workshop. And the responses are in the Google Sheet. And I want to turn what we learn into a useful workshop and a credible launch. So please help me define the outcome and also ask me for the business information you need to know. Let's send it. So let's look at the response. Look at here, especially on how it actually worked. It says, I'll use the data analysis workflow, and then it said loaded tools. This is important because ChatGPT Work integrate closely with skills. What are skills? Skills are just reusable set of instructions that teaches ChatGPT how to perform a particular type of task consistently. How do you actually give a skill to ChatGPT so that it can invoke? You can go to plugins. Here we can see both plugins and skills. So you can give skills to ChatGPT here, as we can see, we already have a number of skills installed by default, right? But then you can also bundle skills and additional capabilities into a plugin that you can share. As we can see, we already have a number of plugins that we installed, including this one, Data Analytics. Let's look at this one. As we can see here, it's already installed. Now let's click in. This is to answer product and business questions with data. And scroll down, let's see, here are the skills that's included in this particular data analytics plugin. For example, we saw this build report skill, right? And if we go back to our actual chat and load tools, we see build report skills. Right? So this is how ChatGPT Work automatically invoke the skills or the plugins that you have already installed there. Because this is a data analyst work, it knows this one needs to be invoked. And it suggested this outcome. Notice that this is a transcription error, so I will need to correct it. Let's see, I will just tell him. Should be Gento Arc Studio, and then yes, credible launch confirmed. This is just another transcription error, but overall it gives us a number of questions and help us define the outcome. Now, what I'm going to do is I will answer its questions. And now let's provide the answers to its questions, basically about our business context. This time I'm going to type it instead of dictate. I'm going to just copy. So let's say this. It asks for a survey. I'm going to use a Google Sheet, and I'm going to, instead of upload, I'm going to connect it. This is another functionality of working with ChatGPT Work, and we will see how it actually works. Now, so I will do it later, but I want to give it my business context first. What does mindful mean? And we hope to serve people by the end. Our start format. And you can read all these, and I will also leave all these prompts and instructions in a folder that you can download, so that if you want to try yourself, you can use these to get started. Okay, let's submit. It is already producing a document, and we can ask it for changes if we want. But instead of changing the document, I actually wanted to preserve these things as files in our local folder. So what I will ask it to do is, we're now moving from conversation to actions. So I will say, using the work brief from this conversation, using what you have already know, create 2 files directly inside this local project folder. The first file should be named studioverview.md, and then it's about the studio's purpose, instruction, and the overall introduction. And the second file should be named pilot workshop brief, including all the information about the workshop. And by the way, if you don't know about .md, it is just a format of a text file that agents predominantly use. Okay, let's submit. So it is creating the files for us. Let's see, list files. It is trying to list files in the existing folder, I believe. but since it's an empty folder, it's not finding anything yet, but it's creating new files for us. And again, this is the power of using ChatGPT Work in a local machine with a local directory. Now, those files should have been created. Let's open it. Let's see the studio overview. Okay, and where is it saved? You see, this is the Gentoo Arc Studio folder that we previously created. We can even show it in Finder. See, this is exactly the folder we want it to be in. Okay, so it corrected our name, give an overview, purpose, instructional approach, instructor. These are all information we have given it, right? And then current directions. Okay, let's look at the second one. Pilot workshop brief. We develop and credibly launch paid beginner-friendly survey evidence from 30 response will be used. Okay, so this is the approach. Again, these are based on what we have given it. Okay, these are information we provided. If you check here, 90 minutes, 20 people. Okay, so launch contact, what survey still needs to test. Okay, these are the questions we want to answer from the data. These are guardrails, also what we gave it. You can see from here, right? Do not. Okay, so now we have the overview and the workshop document in our local file. This information is no longer just trapped in our conversation. So next, we need to actually give ChatGPT Work the spreadsheet that we have seen from here, right? To do that, we again do it through a plugin. And since it's in Google Sheet, we are going to look for the Google Drive plugin, Google Drive, and we install it. Continue to Google Drive. And we click Continue, give it access. Open. Waiting for it to finish connection. Okay, now it has finished the connection. It's installed. Now we can go back to our chat. I will give this prompt to use Google Drive to open the Google Sheet named Gentoo Arc Studio Workshop Survey Response, and then analyze the responses together with the two files that it has already created before about our company and the workshop. Now, based on the survey, I wanted to recommend who the first workshop should serve and the problem it should address, its promise, format, timing, and price. Again, some of these we have some initial hypothesis, but we want the actual answer to be finally driven by the data. So we wanted to show us the evidence and then save the findings as customerinsights.md file, again in this local project folder. Let's kick it off. Again, it is thinking. Let's see. So it is using the Google Drive and Google Sheets workflow that we just connected through plugin. Let's see what it is. So it's reading, again, it's reading the business and analysis skill. It's using the Google Drive skill, Google Sheets skill, right? These are part of the plugin that we have already installed. And some of the other skills and plugins that are already there. Now it's searching for the actual Google Sheet, right? It found the exact spreadsheet. Confirmed there are 30 unique records. And now it's reading the files about our business contact. These are the files that we have created. We can actually close this part to make it easier. So now it's reading the Google Sheet. So it already found the strongest pattern. 20 of 30 respondents describe a need to reset, recover, or create a boundary between demanding moments. And it found weekday lunch is the leading time choice, 15 of the 30, half of them. But the survey does not contain enough information about the length or price, so these will need to be validated separately. Okay, now it has already created this customer insights file that we wanted to create. Let's take a look. This is still the overview file. This is the pilot. Let's open the customer insights. So core recommendation is to serve busy working adults with little or inconsistent mindfulness experience, focusing on a practical reset between demanding moments. The brief recommends a weekday lunch pilot of 60 minutes plus optional Q&A, 12 to 15 participants, and a provisional $25 price. That's actually a pretty low price. Okay, and it describes this is the offer, right? With its confidence, high, low confidence. So price, I think this is pretty low price, and it says it actually has low confidence. Willingness to pay was not surveyed because it does not have data. So this is the rationale, right? Why this audience should come first, and what are the most prominent needs that need to be addressed. Recommended promise. Learn and experience a short mindfulness reset you can use between demanding moments and leave with a realistic plan for practicing it in daily life. Recommended format. Okay. Recommended timing. So there are a lot of details. Price is not finalized, right? And with a concerns review, okay, so these are the 3 source files. Since we have all this information available, the next step I want to do is to prepare a more systematic workshop plan and even a website. So this is the prompt I'm going to give it. Use the customer insight and the other files in the project, create the launch package, okay? And the session will be based on its recommendation. Recommended timing is weekday lunchtime. So we're going to host it in Wednesday, August 26th. And then we're going to make it a little bit higher at $49 each instead of only $25. And now I also wanted to create a brand guide, a launch plan, and a landing page copy markdown file in this project. And after that, I wanted to actually build a site from the landing page copy. A site here is basically you can generate a live website from ChatGPT Work. This is also part of the cool things with ChatGPT Work. Now let's go back to our chat. We also tell it to aim the offer at busy professionals and use practical language, reserve your place, call to action, and use verified information and no testimonials if we do not have it right now. And for this task, I actually want to give it a little bit more intelligence. So I'm going to switch it to medium. The 5.6 SOL model is most intelligent model in the 5.6 series. But then you can further adjust its level of intelligence within the SOL model into extra high, right, and high, medium. Here I will use medium. And I will kick it off. So let's see, it's using the site hosting skill in order to create this website for us, right? So this is a new site project, preparing the site foundation first. The launch package will use the confirmed date, $49 price, and the validated reset between demanding moments. Positioning. Let's see what kind of commands it is running. Okay, it is coding. Since we used medium reasoning, it will take a little bit longer because it's thinking more than the light reasoning. Site foundation is still finishing its setup. Locked the direction already. A calm editorial visual system with warm neutrals, deep green accents, generous spacing, and no wellness cliches or unsupported claims. Sounds right. Okay, let's see what it is actually doing. This takes a little bit longer because it has to create the entire website and host it, plus our medium reasoning level. Okay, do you want to allow downloading the site's required package so I can build? Allow it. And here, this is the permission setting, okay? This is the safest, but you will be asked for approval every single time. Approval for me is basically a smart model can determine whether it's safe or not, make the decision for you, so you receive fewer numbers of approval requests. And full access is basically going YOLO mode. Allow. Actually, I think I'm going to change it to approve for me because this is relatively low risk for this particular task. Let's see if we can get more details about what is going on. So it is creating all the files for the website. It is still running. So the site foundation is finishing its setup. The launch documents have been created. It's loading another tool. Oh, it's automatically loading the image generation skill. It is using the GPT image generation model to create images for the website. Well, this is kind of cool, right? So by default, the site is deployed in a private version for safety reasons. So it's now publishing. Completing the final release step. We're waiting for the production address to be confirmed. Okay, finally, it's done. Let's take a look. I worked for 17 minutes. We can see, let's first see the files, the brand guide, Gentle Arc Studio brand guide. Okay, so it designed all the brand voice and tone, call messages, audience, visual identity of everything, typography, launch plan, 15 paid places at 49. Okay, workshop title, practical pause for a busy day. Message priorities, 5-week launch sequence. Okay. Landing page copy, social sharing card. And now let's look at the actual workshop site. Okay, let's enlarge it. Oh, Gentle Arc Studio, reserve your place. Move into your next task with a clearer pause. See what you learn. Oh, this clicks well. Practical pause for a busy day. Looks pretty cool. You do not need an established practice. One shot reset, a realistic way to repeat it. Focused 75 minutes. Okay. Choice built into the sessions. Instructor. Let's see. Reserve your place. Okay, this one doesn't really collect to anything. Okay, because it give us a warning. Registration opens when Agenteer Studio connects its verified booking link. So we still need to supply a booking link, which is kind of the final step. But at least we have a pretty reasonable starting point of the website. Okay, now we have already created our launch related playbooks or the documents, and we already have the website. What's next? We have completed this process once, but the real value is not just those files or the website, because the real value will be to be able to repeat the method when, for example, new customers' evidence arrives. It needs to analyze it and make adjustment. So how do we do that? We've already seen the power of skill, right? A skill is a reusable set of instructions that make sure that help you perform a particular task consistently. And skill is the solution here as well. So we want to preserve basically this process of turning the survey results and the analysis of the results and make judgment and turn that into our launch materials. This is a workflow that we want to preserve. We want to see how we actually convert this process into a reusable skill. And it's actually not complicated at all. Let's do it. So I'm going to give it this prompt. Simply ask it to turn the survey analysis method you just used here into a reusable skill. Okay, let's call it survey to offer review. Given a connected survey sheet and a project's business files, it should find the strongest patterns, separate evidence from judgment, recommend the audience and offer, and save the concise report. If earlier insights exist, compare them with the latest response and explain what has changed. And it may recommend changes to launch materials, but it must ask for approval before changing them. Because this is the guardrail we want to hold, right? Before it actually changes those materials, especially public-facing materials, it needs to get our approval. So let's do it. So it is using, again, it is using this workflow, which is itself a skill, right? This is a skill because creating a skill is also a repeatable process. There's already an internal skill that handles that. So it is, let's see, it is called a skill creator skill, right? And then it is reading this document. So this reusable skill has been initialized in the Codex skills library. It starts with a template, and now it will fill the template with the actual workflow, or the rules, comparison rules, confidence labels, concise report structure, and explicit approval gate for any launch material edits. Okay, it discovers the validator discovers a missing YAML library. So it's not just about create it, right? It's also about validate it. This is the generation and approval process. Oh, this problem is actually validation only. It does not affect the skill content. So what it is doing now, which is very interesting, is let's click this forward test skill. So this is another skill, right? As we can see, it's using the skill because this task matches. And it's using Google Drive integration. So what we can see here is it's not only generating the skill, it's also tried to test it to see if it is working. So internally, it already baked in these kind of testing and quality assurance mechanisms. So during testing, right, it finds the same connected spreadsheet that we were using. With the same information, with the 30 unique responses. And it even detected that we had made some changes right downstream. We changed the price, for example. So it said the skill itself has passed the structural validation. And the last pass is real-world behavior and the approval boundary. Again, these are the requirements. It's trying to make sure all these requirements are met. Okay. So it even saves a test report, as we can see here. We can open it. Here's the decision, share with caveats. This is what the skill actually does. Pass the validation, report template. Okay. This is the actual skill test report. Okay, we can also open the skill itself. See, this is the name of the skill. And this is the description. The description of a skill is very important because it is used by the model to select when this skill will actually be used. Especially, you can manually invoke a skill, but it's usually more convenient if the model can automatically invoke it when it detects you actually require the workflow that is needed to perform a certain type of task. So here's the description and review, non-negotiable boundary, and this is the workflow, right? Basically, how you should do it. And output standard. And specific here, let's see, after delivering, ask for approval only if concrete edits are warranted. Okay, so this is the guardrail. And report template. Okay, it even designed a review report template. Now, let's actually look into here, plugin, skills. Let's see if our newly created skills are here. Oh, yeah. So this is a personal skill, right? This is not a system default skill. This is the skill we just created. So next time when you're running ChatGPT Work, if there are similar tasks, it will automatically invoke it. Just like we have seen it invoke the image gen skill when it's trying to create images for the website. Yep, this is exactly what we have seen, right? Workflow. We can also disable it. We can also open it. Now that we have saved our entire process into a skill, the skill has passed its internal test. We want to put it into actual use. In a real workflow, our Google form will likely receive new submissions. Like here, we receive another 8 responses. Now, what shall we do? Let's go to our ChatGPT Work again. And here's what I will tell it. Review the latest responses in the connected Gentle Arc Studio survey sheet. Compare them with the local customer insights and launch plan files. Create a survey review file in the same project folder with your findings and any recommendations. So here I intentionally did not mention the skill that we created. Let's see whether the model is smart enough to pick up our skill during this process. Well, it is using the new skill that we already created with this workflow because it knows this is the kind of workflow that requires this skill. So that's the power of skill. It is using the Google Drive integration to find the actual spreadsheet. It detects now the live sheet contains 38 responses as opposed to 30 responses originally. It knows that it's 8 more than the earlier analysis. And it noticed this reset between demanding moments pattern has strengthened. But another 2 signals actually changed. There are more people demanding weekday evenings, and there are more concern over privacy and camera. So it has created this review file. Survey size 38. This is the analysis date. Recommendation, keep the first offer. The noon time and the price are the ones that have not been validated yet. Okay, now let's actually ask, can you structure the review report as an HTML document, include visuals, easier for me to inspect? So we actually have visualization related skills. The model knows immediately to call. So it is setting up the visual structure. It's now validating the HTML package. Okay, now it has created the HTML review report. Let's open it. Well, it should be HTML, right? Oh, okay. So here are the tables. It starts with the executive summary. How to read the comparison. The core offer is better supported. Okay. So share of the responses, it's creating all those tables. Lunch and evenings are now nearly tied. So you can easily compare, right? The earlier version versus the new version. Participation safeguards are now central. Okay. Okay, so it's, I would say, not the most impressive HTML report, but at least it included more bar charts and other tables. We have already used our skill when there are updates in our Google Sheet, in our responses. But we do not want to always do it manually, right? We want to schedule it to run automatically, for example, once per week, leading up to the actual workshop date. How do we do that? This is where this scheduled functionality can help. Now, first, we wanted to similarly perform the job of looking at the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet will constantly be updated from Google Form, right? And then we also wanted to update the review reports. If I put this review report on Google Drive, then we can ask the scheduled job to directly update the Google Drive review report. So I'm going to first turn the local file we have already created into a Google Doc. Now, this file has a date on it. We probably don't want that because we don't want each week it's creating a new file in this particular case, right? So what I'm going to do is I will run this command, I will run this prompt, ask it to create a Google Drive document named Gentle Arc Studio Current Survey Review from the findings in the local survey offer review, this dated MD report. And this will be the living report for future survey reviews. Let's send it. So it's again reading the Google Doc skills, right? It's going to create the Google Doc. So now the new doc is created, laying it out as a living decision record. Current recommendation, comparable measures, separate evidence and judgment, approval gate, and a repeatable update procedure. Okay, so the Google Doc has been created. We can actually open it. Yeah, we need to sign in here, but we can actually use our browser, which we've already signed in. Okay, so we can see it here. Gentle Arc Studio Current Survey Review, Living Report, Analysis Date, July 20th, Current Survey Size, Share with Caveats. Okay, Executive Recommendation, Current Decision Frame, Strong Evidence. Okay, what changed since the last review? Okay, this is the source that it's linked. Now, what we want to do next is we now know where to save this updated document. We're going to actually schedule the weekly review, automated run. So what I'm going to do is I will ask it to schedule this survey review for every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time and use the connected Gentle Arc Studio survey sheet and update the existing Google Drive document. This is the survey review document with the latest findings and recommendations. Let's submit. So it is again using this survey to offer review workflow to define the recurring review consistently. And it will update the Google Doc every Monday automatically and keep any changes approval gated. Okay, let's see. This is the scheduled task. Gentle Arc Weekly Survey Review. Use this skill. It knows to use this skill and use this connected sheet, right, with the spreadsheet. Read the current context and update. Read the existing Google Doc and update it. Update the same doc in place, right? So it runs in a new chat inside this project. Let's click Create. Now let's open Settings. Now it is showing as active. Next run is in 1 week. Okay, so this completes the loop. Now, new responses can come in the Google Sheet here, right? And then the same method will run on a schedule. Every Monday, and then one living document will be updated every Monday automatically. This example shows what it means to move from chat to work. You still own the business decisions, while work handles much more of the execution. OpenAI also has Codex, its agent for software development. Work brings many of those capabilities into a simpler ChatGPT experience designed for everyday work, especially for people who are not software developers. If you already know Claude Cowork, ChatGPT Work will also feel familiar. The two are trying to solve very similar problems. Many people find the GPT models in ChatGPT Work more token efficient and therefore more cost effective. Claude Cowork still feels ahead in certain areas, especially design. Overall, I think it is worth trying both if you can. I'll include the prompts and sample files below so you can try this same workflow yourself in either ChatGPT Work or Claude Cowork. If you would like to see me run the workflow in Claude Cowork and compare the results directly, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.